Good afternoon, I'm Matt.
And I'm Dave. Hello, hello.
And welcome to today's live mastermind. And now, Dave, today's topic, we're going to be discussing the marketplaces and whether they're worth it, aren't we?
We are. This is a question which it comes up every now and again, and it's usually off the back of either some bad press or some bad experiences. And it begs the question, why do we even sell on the marketplaces if they're such a bad thing, if they're such a troublesome area for a troublesome channel for people to sell on? And that's what we'll be looking at in today's webinar.
Absolutely. Now, just Dave, I want to go slightly off topic. Did I just read a few minutes ago on eCommerce Cafe that Amazon Prime subscriptions are going down at the moment?
Their growth is slowing down for the first time ever. So they're not losing subscription. It's just the growth rate is plateauing slightly. I think it's down to 8 or 6% year on year growth currently, whereas previously it's been up past 12 and 15%. So they are seeing a slower. The curve is coming to the top, I guess. A few reasons for that potentially. You've always got to take into account saturation within the market. A lot of people use Amazon Prime. Last time we checked, there was over 95 million Prime members globally.
It was just a few, wasn't it?
Yeah, they've got a few. So I mean, that continued growth was always going to be a tough one to sustain when you sort of saturate a market. There's also, they did put the prices up, which for people who are maybe on a sort of at a lower end of the sort of economical spectrum, who can justify I think it's now $100 and something a year. $119 springs to mind. It's one of those people are now having to say, well, that's no longer, am I getting no-brainer value? If you don't buy on Amazon a lot, if you're not in a position to buy online a lot, then no, you're probably not going to get value from it. So I think there's a few interesting reasons to play there, but I'm sure Amazon aren't worried.
Cool. And no apologies for us going immediately off topic from today's main topic, which will be why do we sell on the marketplaces? Because I literally just saw it pop up on my screen a couple of minutes ago on eSeller Cafe. We'll put a link to that article down in the video description afterwards for you. And I did feel it was very much on topic for the marketplaces, because FBA for you as a third-party seller is something which should definitely be considered. And we'll get into that topic in a few moments. Now, Dave, this topic, why do we even bother selling on the marketplaces? It's not something new to me. It's not something new to you. And I'm probably sure it's not. It's run across your mind, you who are watching this, for one reason or another, good, bad, or ugly, as the case may be. But it is like it's been this recurring theme over the last 10 years.
Yeah, I think 10 years is probably a fair amount as well, because you get those original eBayers like yourself, Matt, back in the early days, who always talk about the glory days of eBay. And back in, it wasn't like this back 7, 8, 10 years ago.
No, hang on. Let's get this thing right. Let's get this one thing. The only thing which I personally miss, all right, no, technically there's two, right, but they're both directly linked, is you used to be able to pay for homepage featured. So you could pay something like 50 quid to have your item on the eBay homepage, and the amount of sales that would generate would be absolutely insane. And I said one, that was the homepage feature. The second one was that you used to have the featured first item, the item which you could get at the top of the listings, and get in that way. And again, what was that? 30 quid, complete bargain. So for the only thing which I personally miss, like from glory days in inverted commas, is being able to pay for the homepage featured. That's what you want, is all those eyeballs on your product or products, as the case may be. So yeah, 50 quid used to be fantastic value for money, considering the number of items you could sell from one listing. Now it's definitely a little bit more diluted, to say the least, and that feature doesn't even exist anymore. So anyway, that's showing my age a bit there. Yeah, sorry, it has been a question around going on for a long period of time. Sorry, as you were saying there, Dave.
And like I said, obviously eBay, we're talking about eBay predominantly here, but obviously Amazon as well to a degree. And that is that every year more and more businesses start selling on the marketplaces, and therefore it feels like it's more crowded, that it's harder to find a space for you on the website. Prices are now super competitive, and these are all just reasons why the marketplaces are successful. And yes, if you compare it to eBay 10 years ago, it probably is a lot harder to make, not to say money quickly, but I would say, to grow a brand and to grow a business, it probably is a little bit trickier these days, just due to the amount of choice, the globalization. Obviously, we now have to compete much more with China, which again was not something that really anyone had to contend with 10 years ago. And I think it's one of those questions which always comes up. Is like, well, if eBay is going down this route now, cataloging the data, and we can no longer put contact details in our listings, and they've obviously brought in about all these changes. Why do we even bother? Especially if they're still going to take, fees always go up, they never really come down. So always now paying sort of 10, 11, 12, 15% of of a percentage of whatever it is that you sell. It's it is what it is. So
yeah, and also to add to that as well, the amount of hoops which you've had to go through now as a seller on the marketplace as well. Whereas before, you could literally be up and running that day and go from 0 listings to 10,000. Nobody would bat an eyelid, and off you went. It was all happy days. Whereas now you have those hoops you have to go through. The seller restrictions: can't sell any more than X per month, or have more than X listings per month, unless you get on the phone and blag your ass off to get through them. So,
yeah, very true.
Yeah. But I just want to come back on the point. In glory days, it was the homepage feature. Obviously, it's just become a different marketplace from what it was then, which is a good thing in many ways. That's for sure. So sorry, Dave, let's get ourselves back onto the topic itself. We've got a couple of notes here in the background now. I think the biggest underlying flaw, or not even going to say flaw, is annoyance with marketplaces. And this isn't just aimed at both eBay and Amazon, this includes Etsy and other marketplaces too, is that you have to adhere to their terms. Okay, now their terms are above and beyond anything which you would expect, say, on your own website, for example. We're not saying floor distance selling regulations or similar. We're just talking, you've got to keep to their terms and their requirements and their hoops, because ultimately you are playing in their back garden, if that makes any sense. So Amazon expects you to reply within 24 hours, ideally much sooner than that, 7 days a week. eBay, etc., it's just getting the same way as Amazon, and that's the thing. That's normally the biggest amount of friction. Now, it's normally the biggest amount of friction is because it either looks like in the beginning that the eBay or Amazon marketplaces specifically are just too tough to enter onto. I know that was always an issue for larger wholesalers here in the UK. Whereas that they just didn't have the data available, and it was just going to be so much hell's work for them to document even what they had in stock, let alone do it to a set of rules for somebody else, and then a whole new set of rules potentially for another marketplace. Whereas that has somewhat alleviated over the last couple of years as they've become more technically savvy, if that makes sense. They've been forced by their own customers to be able to buy online, to book online so they can go and collect it, or variations of click and collect as well. Get myself back onto the topic, is that it's these having to play in someone's back garden rules, aka eBay's rules, policies, etc., of which there's many. eBay are relatively understanding if you make a boo-boo. Amazon, not. And that's no exaggeration. So that's where this is their policies and rules and terms are typically the point of friction, because somebody has typically been and broken them or bent them, and the said sites didn't take to it very kindly for one reason or another. It could be a buyer, for example, offering to make the purchase off eBay in a message which you've got no control over, but still you get somewhat penalized for a buyer doing that. Great. Obviously, is still an area of improvement on eBay, for example. And And it's when, sorry, coming back to my point, it's those terms, it's those conditions, it's those rules which cause friction. And that's normally what happens, is that you'll rub up against the marketplace. And this question arises, is why do I even bother with these marketplaces if I've got to jump through hoops X or Y and Z and then stand on tippy toes for the next one? And it's a brutal question. And unfortunately, it comes with also a very brutal answer. And Dave, I'm pretty sure you know what that answer is, don't you?
Yeah, I guess so. It's the audience. It's always going to come down to the audience that the marketplaces have. You know, collectively between eBay UK and Amazon UK, you're looking at over 150 million unique eyeballs every single month. And that's before you take into account .com, where you can pretty much double that, if it were more than double that. So you're talking sort of 300, plus million eyeballs. And that's before you then take into account Europe, Australia, India. The global audience that these marketplaces have is ultimately the biggest reason why you should even bother selling on these marketplaces. It is the core reason. To even get, your own website to 10% of Amazon's or eBay's traffic a month, you're talking millions of pounds worth of marketing budget. It's, and that's just not realistic for 99% of small businesses. And that's the reason why the marketplaces are such a powerful tool. And yes, there are headaches, there are rules that you have to follow, there are crappy customers, and you do run the risk of putting your business in someone else's basket. That is part of the reality of selling on the marketplaces. But it's still, to this day, if you're looking at starting an e-commerce business, the marketplaces, and arguably along with social media, but even marketplaces still massively out in front, give you access to an audience who are ready to buy. Social media people can see success selling products on social media, but people who go to marketplaces have credit card details in their hand and are there to make a purchase. People on social media are there to usually just waste some time. So, the marketplaces still offer the value proposition that someone is looking to buy something, and you can put your products in front of a large amount of people, much larger than what you would be able to do with your own website, especially starting out at the beginning.
Yeah, I think that's the key point there, Dave. And by the way, those of you which have just been enjoying this, we are discussing marketplaces and why you should even bother with them in the first place. And we're just getting to the key point, which is it's just eyeballs, the sheer number of eyeballs which they have. And if you've got good data for the marketplaces, it's not impossible to do well at all, which I'm sure many of you watching this already know. It's not impossible to do quite well, and for one or more marketplaces to take up a fair proportion of your gross revenue coming into your business. Now, as part of that, as we were discussing a few minutes ago, we have these rules, we have these terms, we have conditions and stuff. We also have a very harsh feedback environment too, where no seller or even product survives anymore. Especially with eBay bringing in ratings for products. You've got Amazon reviews for years. One of the USPs for Amazon for a very long time was that they would publish both good and bad reviews for products, or let customers post them. And I know firsthand, I've left some pretty appalling reviews of products lately. And I'm looking at you right now on there's a camera mounted up on a stand. And the stand was fine, but the ball joint piece on the top was horrific. Now, if you can consider that stand, which I'm looking at you on right now, was £135, I did not expect a cheap-ass ball joint to go on the end. And I can tell you, I've had 4 emails from that business trying to chase me up to offer me a half-price stand. So if you go from 130 quid to 150 quid because it's a 250 quid stand, and I'm not interested. But I understand why that company's doing that. It's because they are the manufacturer, they are the proprietor for that product on Amazon, and yeah, it's harsh. it's a harsh environment which is out there. Again, eBay feedback, that was always the big thing about eBay, is the buyers can leave you feedback. It used to be a lot harsher than what it used to, maybe that's one of the things I do miss, going back to our conversation from right at the beginning, Dave, is that the ability as a seller to rate buyers effectively. Yes. Because there are good buyers out there and there's some bad buyers out there, that's for sure. And I know eBay have introduced the report buyer option, which has had some success. But I can tell you from a personal point of view, there's nothing right leaving a very well worded negative comment on a buyer's profile because they've just been a complete arse. And that's not something which I miss. I don't sell the marketplaces anymore, and customers drive me out the wall. Specifically eBay buyers, because they're complete nuts, as I'm sure many of you will agree. The average small to medium-sized business owner, I'm guessing that's you, which are watching this right now, you're pretty cool. You're kind of motivated, and you'll do what you need to do to get results. That's not necessarily the same kind of words which you can say about the average buyer out there at the moment. So anyway, just getting back to a comment, harsh feedback rules. So again, we are living in a very transparent marketplace, or just in transparent environment in e-commerce in general. And this is just not limited both to feedback on Amazon or eBay or product reviews or ratings on Amazon and eBay. This is also third-party sites like Trustpilot. Google's got on the bandwagon now as well with Google Shopping and the Google stores and the ratings which you can leave there as well. It is a very, very transparent environment which we live in right now, and it can be harsh, especially if your customer service is not up to the kind of level for what these marketplaces kind of dictate they should be, which I would argue even those marketplaces are a bit lapse, especially if you consider that Amazon do class them as the perfect seller, and they do get back to you bloody quickly, which is always a reassuring factor, especially in a time of concern, so around a refund or a return or something like that, or a product issue. Now, the other thing when it comes to the marketplace is we touched on this, is it's always this fear or threat or risk being applied to your business, is that if you're turning over, say, a meager 40 grand gross on Amazon and 40 grand gross on eBay, and then one of them goes away because you've bent a tiny little rule and they kick you off for a month, at best case scenario, is that it really does hurt. And did I not read also in the last couple of days that Amazon are now trying, you only have like 17 days to respond and 2 attempts to get your account reinstated. It's got so much more difficult, or it will be getting me so much more difficult on the Amazon marketplace if you do make a screw up as well. Was that right, Dave? Did I read that correctly?
I think, I'm trying to think. I don't remember the finer details, but that does sound familiar. I know they're really clamping down on that. They're also clamping down on people who make a lot of returns as well. That's buyers. So, I mean, they are putting...
I'm actually worried about that. That's a serious concern, because I think I returned all that Sony PlayStation and those games earlier this year. And I have had a few returns of late as well. I think I'm on my 3rd stand.
I think looking at the volume that you purchase, I think the percentages will still be in your favor.
I think it might be for a while, but it always is a bit of a concern, because I'm sure there's cheeky people out there which will buy something, then use it and then send it back. I think
most people just play the "it never got delivered" card when it clearly did, back when they didn't do a proper POD. So. Yeah, it looks like Amazon are trying to clamp down on serial returners as well. So, yeah, there's a lot of rule changes for both buyers and sellers going on at the minute on Amazon. So, and this is it. You know, you're running a business, and you also need to keep up to date with all the changes that are going on the channels that you sell on. And it can sometimes feel like, oh, there's more hoops that we have to jump through now. And unfortunately, that is a reality of
the bi-yearly updates.
Oh yeah. Or at least eBay did that. You know, that's one thing Amazon never did. It was just like you'd get an email, be like, oh, by the way, we don't do this anymore. We do this. Here's your 1 hour notice. You're like, oh, right.
And we're not kidding either.
Yeah. Here's your 1 hour notice. By the way, we started it yesterday. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. That was the thing which they did with the images, wasn't it? They changed all the images. And then you have to have certain size images, and they put one little notification out 3 months, like 3 months notice,
Yeah.
and then gave everybody a shoe-in 1 week before it went live, and you had to change it. So it was mass hysteria. We've got one that just trying to keep this like in a reality check on what we're discussing here, is that eBay traditionally has been very good with communications.
Yeah.
Amazon not so much, and has not really improved very much, to be fair, to them, and eBay as well. So it is a bit of a curiosity. And again, I will just mention those of you which have just been and joined us, we are talking about the comparison to asking ourselves this question: why should we even bother selling on the marketplaces? And we're specifically talking about eBay and Amazon, but it does go to other marketplaces as well. So that's the topic which we're discussing. Remember, this is being recorded live, so we're leaving all screw ups in as they come in as well. We do have an agenda which we're following, and we are working our way through there. We've got about another 30 minutes worth of topics to cover approximately. So, and remember, you can join in. There is a live chat box on the right hand side of your screen. You can join in that, and if you're on an iPad, down in the bottom right hand corner, there's a little box which you have to click on, and then it pops up, as I discovered a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, so we were talking about marketplaces and their rules and their hoops. We spoke about customer service. We talk about harsh feedback rules as well. We also spoke, we were just getting to the topic about the threats or the risk or of rule breaking on those marketplaces, because eBay does have a very long list of policies, which if you're new to eBay, your chances are you're going to break a few without even trying. Amazon is not so hard. So it is quite hard to break rules unless you're doing quite obvious things which are probably a bit naughty, in their eyes at least, which is kind of obvious once you work out. So for example, sending a product which is very similar to a product but blatantly not the same product, because it looks like the one which is in the picture, but actually it's very different. And then you end up getting upset customers, and then that ends up coming back on your plate as well. So things you do need to go careful of. Also, a risk when it comes to the marketplaces as well is that because, and we touched on this a few moments ago, because the marketplaces can be very demanding, I think that's the right word, demanding on you and your time, is that they can take up an awful lot of your time. Whether you're just a business owner or you've got multiple staff within your team, is that it can take up an awful lot of your time. And as such, it's very easy for these marketplaces to take your attention when perhaps you should be spending it on developing your own sales channel through your own website, or maybe expanding into the other marketplace, which isn't doing as well as your big marketplace. Because that's typically what happens, is that one marketplace will be bigger than the other for you. So we'll say that eBay is typically bigger, could be bigger for you than Amazon, for example, or vice versa. And because the eBay is taking a lot of your attention, and because Amazon's also taking a lot of attention, because now that's starting to grow because you gave it a bit of attention and you started to grow, and then it's taking up more of your time, is the net effect of that is that you take your eye off the ball and you don't focus any time on your website. And that then means is that when you get a kick in the knackers over here by this one and a kick up the bum by that one, is that suddenly you realize is that if you lost that one and then you lost part of that one or that one as well, you'd be up Jack Ripper Street, which was not somewhere anybody wants to go. And they are experts at wasting your time. And I mean experts. Scheduled updates twice a year in eBay's case, some smaller, some bigger, sometimes epic from eBay, and Amazon, you're doing it. That's just their kind of communications, really. You've got to do this by then, which could be in just a week's time, and it could be a big job like we had with the images a couple of years back ago as well. And like I said, they are experts at this, and some might argue, and I probably wouldn't argue back with them, that some of these changes are done on purpose to keep you busy with their marketplace and not someone else's, and that would make logical sense. And again, I'm sure those companies would dispute that fact, but just looking at the sheer number of updates over a long period of time, thank goodness they toned things down a bit, so you know that you've got some updates coming. But coming back onto the topic, it is somebody else's rules which you've got to adhere to. And if you're busy spending time on this marketplace and doing this or that for another marketplace, then you're not focusing upon the other places of revenue for your business. Could be product supply. Generally, the main point which makes you the most money is not actually selling the products, it's buying it at the right price, so that when it does sell, that you can make the most amount of margin. And sometimes you've got to be cruel with yourself. Is your time better spent sourcing products at the right price, or keeping up with a marketplace's new rules, etc., or focusing upon your own website where you pay an awful lot bloody less overall, and you get permission to speak to the customer as well. God forbid, because that's one topic which I missed a few moments ago, is that on Amazon, it's not even your bloody customer, it's Amazon's customer. And they control the entire process of the communications which you have with their customer, not your customer. And eBay is in full swing on doing that to their marketplace as well, where it's their customer, not your customer, which is quite sad to say the least. Sorry, Dave, I'm dragging myself off basket. What I'm trying to say here is that those marketplaces, they can lure you into a false sense of security and help you unwittingly create a pair of eggs in one basket, at which stage, if you were to lose one of those, is that it would really, really hurt. So if you lost eBay or you lost Amazon sales, it would really, really hurt. Hence, that's why you end up spend more attention on the marketplaces than perhaps what you would do with your website, for example, even though it's more profitable for you to spend, profitable long term. I hasten to add that. Remember, myself and Dave were very much interested in the long-term success of your businesses, because that is the right thing for us to be focused upon, and it's also the right thing for you to be focused upon as well. Whereas these marketplaces can give quick fixes, we have and always will do class that market is that your own website is pretty much the holy grail, because you have full access to your customers. If you want to email them, obviously with their permission, you can do. You own the relationship in your own website. You do not own your relationship on eBay with the customer on Amazon or eBay, no matter what they say, because why would they obfuscate email addresses from you? Why can't you contact your own customer? Amazon customer, if it's that point of view. So, Dave, we've been very negative there about the marketplace, haven't we? I've been very negative. Dave, I've been bad cop, you be good cop. What's good about marketplace?
Well, like I said, the audience is the one which we spoke about briefly before. We spoke about quite in depth, actually. 150 plus million unique visitors in the UK alone, talking 300 plus million bringing in the States. But other than that, we've then also got a few other considerations to bear in mind. We have speed of sale. I think the quickest thing that I ever sold on eBay was 5 minutes from listing to it being sold, and that was for full price.
Oh yeah, I've seen that as well. Very, very quickly from the item going out to it being sold. It is definitely possible.
You think again, if you've got a website, you've spent 5-10 grand on a website, you put a listing up, and nothing is going to sell until you are throwing some marketing budget at that website. So speed is one very crucial thing to bear in mind with the marketplaces. They allow you to sell products quickly and efficiently, and on top of that, it's very much a pay per performance largely marketplace. So yes, you may have some shop fees, you may have some listing fees to a degree, but the chunk of your fee, your final value fee, you will only ever pay once your item is sold. And that is a big bonus for small businesses where cash flow is often tight at the beginning. Again, you think back to your own website, you're going to have an instance where you have to sell. You build a website, you put your products online, and then you have to spend money, whether that be AdWords, which is obviously a cost per click, or again, Facebook ads, which again, cost per click, anything along those lines. You have to put that money up front, and there's no guarantee that your item will sell. Whereas with the marketplaces, it is largely pay per performance. You only pay the chunk of your fees when an item is sold.
Yeah, and Dave, can I just chuck in there? That's one of the real niceties And I genuinely mean that about the niceties when it comes to the marketplaces, is because, well, Amazon 30 quid plus now, list as many products as you like. Well, no, not even within reason. Which is just crazy, and you only pay the big fees, or pay them the big fees when an item sells. And when it comes to eBay, it's the same thing. The barrier to entry is very, very low, very cheap, very easy. And again, they take the big chunk of fees at the end when the item sells, which is a lot more, and I genuinely, you know this, is an awful lot more palatable as compared to, say, Google AdWords or an affiliate marketing campaign where you need to nurture and you need to manage and evolve what you're doing there. And it can be daunting because you do have to put your money up front before you even start. Whereas eBay and Amazon, it's peanuts in comparison, and it's pay per performance. And that's probably one of the big myths, isn't it, Dave, when it comes to marketplaces and selling on your own website, is that it ironically, it's more expensive to sell on the marketplaces than what it is to your website. And we're not saying your website will be free. On there, obviously, you have transaction fees and you also have marketing fees as well. But a well-honed, say, Google AdWords campaign, for example, can be a fair chunk less up front to drive the same amount of revenue, if not more. And the other thing which should always be factored in when it comes to the comparison, say, between your own marketing and your own website compared to the marketplaces, is that you own the relationship with the customer, which is something which I'm not going to let go of because it's vitally important. Because remember, when someone buys off Amazon, as far as I'm concerned, I'm buying from Amazon. I don't care who I've been purchased from. That's just the brutal reality. I'm buying from the Amazon badge in the top left-hand corner, same as what you'll be doing. Whereas eBay, we know that we're buying off eBay, but we also know at the same time we're buying off a third-party merchant, which could be you on that marketplace. And the thing is that you don't actually own that relationship with the customer fully, whereas that on your own website, you do. And that's key because you then have direct input in getting that customer back to you again, because if someone's been a purchase from you once before, it is infinitely easier to get them to purchase from you again because they know you. You're not Mr. Blank guy who you've never met and they have absolutely zero trust in. They have a relationship with you, and the gauntlet's there for you to foster it, because if you can get that customer to come back a second time, coming back a third time, darn sight easier. And that return, that customer lifespan, the revenue which they can provide you over a long period of time, compare that to every single time when it comes to, because it doesn't matter, Amazon don't care, eBay don't care. If that one person comes and backs and buys from you 10 times, they don't care. Well, they do, because then they get 10 lots of 15% from you or more, as the case may be. Whereas if you're doing a website and they've come back because you've sent an email out, well, let's say that you've got quite a large list, which you've got in, say, MailChimp, and it's costing you $90 a month. $90 is just a drop in the ocean for a bloody great big email marketing list, and a list which you've tuned and it's converting into customer. That's just one person out of many people. So, Dave, bring us back on topic, please.
Just checking the old notes there. Yes, as I said, the pay-per performance, totally agree with everything Matt said there. But in terms of, like I said, speed and quick wins and getting cash flow in, marketplaces are great for that. And also, we would always advise that some of that money that you take, any profit that you make, should be reinvested more towards your website, and getting that rolling again, whether that be some Facebook ads, some Google ads, whatever it may be, learning your craft there. That would always be a good investment on our part, because we're going to come on to at the end what the sort of ideal solution is of your relationship with marketplaces. So yeah, that'll come full circle in a minute. I would say that the final big pro when it comes to the marketplace, and again, it is semi-related to the speed, is it allows you to quickly test or basically gather market research on new product lines relatively cheaply. So again, you could get a sample of products in which you think might do well, but rather than go in and buy like 1,000 of them, maybe you've bought 10, and you just want to gauge what sort of your response will be, what sort of price point you'll get, what the competition are doing. The marketplaces are fantastic for that because they are such a busy environment. There's such a busy, it's a busy ecosystem of buyers and sellers. There's a lot of traffic. You think of a really busy market stall. There's a lot of footfall, a lot of bartering going on, a lot of deals being made, a lot of items being sold. You can gather a lot of intelligence very quickly as to products. Are they desirable? Are they not desirable? Are they fit for purpose? Do they need to be tweaked? And that's one of the big plus points of marketplaces. They allow you, because of the audience, to really get some good indications of whether this product is a good one and whether it's something you should maybe go a little bit more all in on, stuff like that. So,
yeah, I just want to add to that as well. We must not forget the tools which are available to you as well. Jungle Scout, for example, an Amazon research tool, relatively inexpensive and absolutely lethal. It allows you to research products on Amazon, so you can find niches there. You've got Terapeak, which annoyingly eBay bought. They know. What did eBay do? eBay technically knackered the tool. And then bought it. And then bought it. Like, what is going on, lads? That's how you screw them. Sorry, it's always funny looking back and seeing what companies do. But on a serious point, you do have Terapeak available to you, which is now is slowly getting more integrated into the Seller Hub. Some of the really good stuff is gone, but actually coming back to what's available today is that it is a tool which is viable, will help you research products on the eBay marketplaces, not only just here in the UK, but also abroad on .com, in Australia, Germany, and so on and so forth as well. And the fees for that is relatively inexpensive compared to what it would take to do full-blown market research on a product. Compared to what you can do now is that you can either do it virtually and look up to see what other people are doing, or like Dave said, you could get a small number of items in and put them on the marketplaces and see how they sell for very little money, like even a fraction of a percent compared to what it would do to do traditional product research. So yeah, very, very curious. And again, another massive plus when it comes to the marketplaces as well. You don't need to buy big. You can buy small and play and keep throwing stuff at that wall until you find the stuff which sticks, which you could be quite surprised about what sticks and what doesn't, as the case may be. So Dave, time for us to wrap up almost and try and summarize some of the things which we've covered, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, quickly, just to recap, those of you which have just been enjoying us, we are talking about the marketplaces and why do we even bother with them? It's a good topic. It's a good topic.
I think, again, we'll do a quick recap. Obviously, the main problems that we see come up time and time again, or not problems, but the main complaints that we see with the marketplaces is customer service is hard, very demanding buyers, especially on eBay. Harsh feedback rules or policies in general, again, eBay and Amazon. Amazon's more so strict with performance. eBay's just very strict with their general rules these days. The threat of suspension, and again, if your entire business is based on the back of eBay or Amazon, it's not entirely safe. They have the ability to close your account at a moment's notice, and maybe 50, if not more, % of your business just stops immediately. And not many businesses can survive that hit. The pros, of course, are obviously the speed at which you can sell, the audience that you can put your products in front of. It's why the marketplaces are so compelling. Like I said, you can list an item and sell it within 5 minutes on eBay. Not many websites can do that without a big chunk of marketing investment, marketing spend allocated to them. So it's like we said, it's very easy to gauge because it's such a bustling marketplace. It's very easy to gauge customer thoughts and insights regarding your products, what the sort of market value is, what you can get away with pricing wise, what competitors are doing. You have a lot of data. If you're a data driven person, the marketplaces are great for that reason. Now that brings us on to the ideal solution, in our opinion, when it comes to marketplaces. So Why should you even bother selling on the marketplaces? Because they put your products in front of millions and millions of eyeballs every single month, and they pay you. Sorry, you pay when your item sells largely. So the risk in terms of for a new business starting out, it's the lowest barrier to entry. It's very simple to get started, and the restrictions or the limits in your place are quite small. They don't take a lot of investment up front for you to get started. So with that said, we believe that you should definitely be selling on the marketplaces as a means of growth. If you are new, if you're a young business starting out, that is the easiest win for you right now, is to start up on eBay and Amazon and start putting your products out there and generating that cash flow. From there, as and when your business is able to, with the profit that you're making, start pulling some of that profit and investing it into your website, into your own marketing, for you building your own brand, building your own visibility out there in the world. Because as Matt made a brilliant point, we need to own that customer relationship, and you can't do that on eBay or Amazon. Use eBay and Amazon as a means to an end in terms of bringing awareness and bringing money and cash flow to your own website, which you can then market, and then you can email people and actually have that one-on-one conversation with them. And ultimately, being a true multi-channel business is what you want to do. That does involve having your own website as well as eBay and Amazon.
Yeah, I think that's the ultimate goal here, isn't it? Is there's always these terms thrown around: multi-channel, omnichannel, blah. They all mean exactly the same thing, which is just don't have all your eggs in one basket. You don't. If one, basically, what we're saying is that you want an even spread. You want 30% of your business on. So you got 33% of your business or revenue coming from eBay, 33% coming from Amazon, and a third coming from your own website or activities. Because take one of those away, it's just straightforward, plain risk management. Take one of those away, it will hurt, but you're still left with 2/3 of your business operational. Okay. And that's the thing. I don't think there's many people out there can say that they've got an even split. In fact, I've never seen a business ever have an even split between the marketplaces and what they're doing on what they're doing outside of the marketplaces. There's one which is always bigger. It could be eBay, it could be Amazon, or it could actually, ironically, be their website as well. And they're just using the marketplaces to, like, Superdrive, for example, was a great example, much larger example, but great example where they're using the marketplaces just to get rid of stock. In short, and to continue the velocity of stock or inventory to go through their actual stores itself. So that's a nice example of things working in reverse. But yeah, coming back onto the topic, the marketplaces are great for quick hits, but they really are the crack of the internet, to say the least, or the meth. It's not good. It's not good, because you're playing in their back garden. And we're not saying the marketplaces are bad, and they should definitely be part of your business structure or what you're doing overall. But what we are saying is that they can be all a bit too easy, and for one to become perhaps a little bit too relaxed. Whereas that on your own website is that you have, to all intents and purposes, your own rules, and the world is very much your oyster. Whereas you can't necessarily say that for eBay, and you can't necessarily say that for Amazon either. Whose garden do you want to play in? The obvious answer there, I think, the answer there, I think, is pretty obvious. Give me a spit with words out. Right. I think that's pretty much what we've covered there. Yeah, the last one. Yeah, become a truly multi-channel business. Absolutely. Use the marketplaces to feed what you're doing offline, so that you can own that relationship with the customer, because that is the piece which is the one which will make you revenue over a long period of time. Now, Dave, I've got to put my hand up. Apologies if I missed any comments which are coming here live today.
We have one from Jay. Yeah. I'll give that a read out. He says, Jay, thank you for joining. He said, I've seen discussion in the USA regarding individual states charging sales tax in new ways. The communication with customers becomes an issue determining if it is your sale or Amazon's sale. Jay, absolutely. This is something which we are covering, or should I say Richard is covering a lot on esellercafe.com. So if you head over to esellercafe.com and type in sales tax or anything like that, there's a lot of, the stuff going on at the Supreme Court about this. And Richard's very much on top of this because obviously he's American. He has a much better grasp of it than me and Matt could do here in the UK. The whole state sales tax is baffling to me. But yeah, it is.
I think it's baffling to most Americans.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely struggle with it, but yeah, it's a curious one. There are now a few states where the state itself has petitioned Amazon for details of their sellers where they have held stock in an Amazon warehouse within that state. So I believe how sales tax works is it's not where the item is bought, it's where the item is sold. So if the item, I can't even remember now, but basically states were now petitioning Amazon warehouses to release data regarding sellers that had stored products in an Amazon warehouse that had then been sold in that state. All got very confusing. Amazon's being sort of forced to play ball by the government. Yeah, it's a very interesting time right now in the States regarding that. Jason says, it's a big deal in the States. I too am afraid of getting a dozen big bills at the end of the year. Absolutely. And that was one of the massive loopholes here in the UK, because if you were a UK seller who was selling to the USA, because if the product wasn't based in an American warehouse, we didn't have to pay sales tax because there was no way for anybody to calculate it. You know, it didn't make sense. It was coming outside of the state. So yeah, there's a lot of questions around that, and it's still ongoing. Who knows where it'll end up? But yeah, make sure you subscribe to Reseller Cafe because I know Richard is on the ball with that stuff. He really does. The tax stuff always does well for us. So we really do keep a very close eye on it because it is a big deal. Certain states are now saying if you ship to customer in that state, you must charge tax. You must pay it even if it's not collected too. Yeah. So it's the whole sales tax thing is a huge thing in the USA.
And this is on top of the 25% import tax of the vast majority of products coming in from China, for example.
Unless they are gifts.
Yeah, we've had that loophole earlier for years.
Yeah. It's a gift. All right. Do you always get zip ties and batteries as gifts? Well, sometimes.
Lovely Chinese lady. She all the time.
Keeps sending me random bits for planes. Yeah.
Right. Anyway, it is time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for taking the time to join us here live. And it's one of, I know for many of you, it will be almost a philosophical question, which we were asking now. Why do we even bother with the marketplaces? But it does have this serious undertone to it, which are the marketplaces are great. Thumbs up for both of them and the others as well. We're saying eBay and Amazon because they are by far the biggest well, they are. However, they do a very good job at keeping you very busy, either through sales or changes, etc., etc. And the point which me and Dave really just wanted to make is that your website and activities outside of the marketplaces can be far more lucrative for you and your business long term, even if they do sound a little bit scary. The numbers are out there, and it's just you own them. I think probably the biggest takeaway for you: you own the relationship with your customer on your terms. On Amazon and eBay, you do not. It's someone else's terms and someone else's rules. And if you play with those rules, they probably won't like you for it. So with that said, it's time for us to go. For myself, Matt.
And for me, Dave.
Thank you very much for taking us to join us here live this afternoon. We will be live next week at the same time. Dave, do you have any idea what next week's topic is?
I do indeed, but I won't be here. You're going to have to fly solo. I'm at a conference in Manchester next week. So the topic, though, is preparing your business for Black Friday, or anything else that Matt decides to come up with that he prefers the topic of.
That has been known from time.
It has been known in the past, yeah. While Dave's away, Matt can play sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Don't worry, we won't make a model aircraft while we're live. But yeah, next week could be a curiosity to say the least. But Black Friday is going to definitely a worthwhile topic.
Yeah.
again, just slightly going slightly off topic. I do have this year. I do have a collection of items which I want, and I'm holding out for Black Friday. We did actually cover. Was that last week or no? 2 weeks ago we spoke about this. Is that in the preparation for Black Friday and stuff? Is that I'm still waiting for a certain couple of their ticket items. They're not cheap, but there's one which has already been dropped by 50 quid, and I almost bought it. Almost, but I'm holding in now. I just need that extra little nudge to get over the line, because we are only 25 days to go to Black Friday? Is it 25th?
Yeah, so it's 24th, I think, is it? But obviously then you're going to have at least a week on Amazon beforehand, and I'm sure the big retailers will be joining in as well. So
yeah,
it's about 20 days away.
Yeah, like I said, I got a list. And unfortunately, it's not a cheap list either. Hence, that's why they're all considered purchases. So we're waiting to see what happens. Anyway, on that note, thank you very much for taking the time to join us. We will see you next Tuesday, same time, different topic. We'll see you then. Cheerios.
See you guys. Bye.